Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai!
His Convicity Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai!
His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai!
Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai!
His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki
Jai!
Lord Premanandi
Haribo!
All glories, all glories, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna!
All glories, all glories, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. What is the time frame? I mean, I know what the time is now, but what is it?
It's 7.
So quite often on the appearance or disappearance day, the discussion, of course, is on the person who we are honoring. And quite often there is a lot to be remembered about their lives and different pastimes. But what I'm choosing to do today is to focus on two topics related to the teachings as presented by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And the two topics are worship of Gauranga and chanting the holy name. And because of the time, it's not going to be lengthy, but I will specifically relate some incidents where he was giving very deep discussion and presentation on the worship of Lord Gauranga and chanting of the holy name. So it was in November of 1929, which I don't think any of us were around at that time. But he was residing, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was residing in Lucknow. And at that time, a retired district sessions judge came to meet him. And he noticed how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was exclusively devoted to Sri Gaurasundar in his mood, in his words. And he told him that his very good friend, we'll refer to him as Mr. R, because that's how I was referred to, Mr. R, was superintendent engineer, and he was a fully dedicated devotee of Mahaprabhu. So it happened to be that the daughter of this Mr. R became extremely ill. And during this time, Mr. R began to chant incessantly, day and night. He was chanting, Gaura, Gaura, Gaura. And on top of that, he was increasingly making very intricate offerings to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He began to visit his Gurudev, so much so that everybody was astounded at his Guru Bhakti. But in spite of so much devotion, in spite of so much effort, his only daughter succumbed, left her body. On that particular day that she died, from early in the morning until around 9 o'clock in the evening, she was suffering acute breathing problems until she finally just expired. So some days later, the retired judge went to meet his friend, Mr. R. Babu. And he was somewhat astonished to notice that the love and steadfast devotion for Mahaprabhu that had been exhibited by R. Babu had completely disappeared. And on top of that, Mr. R was lamenting and was saying, there is no Mahaprabhu. If Bhagavan exists, then surely he would never cause this devotee to suffer. Surely he would know the anguish of his devotee. If he was really antaryami and he actually resided in the heart of his devotees, he would have saved my daughter. And after saving her, my daughter would have had so much more intense and increased love and devotion towards Bhagavan. And the greatness of Bhagavan would have been preached even more and more in the world. And he concluded, therefore, it's only due to the superstitious nature. Superstitious means not based in reality. Is that offered to Prabhupada? That people believe in the existence of God and recite the names of Mahaprabhu. So this is being related to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati by the retired judge. And in answer to these words, in answer to that lamentation, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada spoke as follows. He said, now this is, it's actually very deep and it's very beautiful at the same time. But as much as you can, because I'm not a very accomplished speaker, and neither am I a greatly realized soul, but I'm repeating his words. So if you can, try to catch it. So here this person has just denounced Mahaprabhu after apparently appearing to be so much connected. And suddenly, due to the death of his daughter, it's all over. And he's even accusing those who chant the Lord's name to be just simply superstitious persons. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta replied, that Mahaprabhu that we have taken shelter of is not the Mahaprabhu of Mr. R. Babu, whom he considers to be just like his hired gardener. We have taken shelter of that Mahaprabhu of Srivas Pandit, that Mahaprabhu who was so impressed with the love of Srivas Pandit that he said, how could I ever give up the association of one who did not lament to his son, for his son, due to his love for me? Now, in case you may not understand the reference, there was a magnificent kirtan going on in Shivasangam. And the son of Shivas left his body in the other room. And all the women were there just lamenting greatly, to speak of his wife, the mother of the boy. And he went in there and asked them to please be quiet. Don't disturb Mahaprabhu. It was his son. But he was more concerned about disturbing the Lord of his heart. And Mahaprabhu was saying, how could I ever give up the association of such a person who had such love for me? We worship the Mahaprabhu of Srivas who said, if the Lord regains his external consciousness by hearing your commotion, I will drown myself in the Ganga. So he's telling this to the ladies. He's asking them to reduce their loud cries. Because if you disturb the Lord, I'm going to throw myself in the Ganga. We worship Sri Rupa's Mahaprabhu. It is Sri Rupa who said, O friend of the poor, do what you like with me. Give me either mercy or punishment. But in this world, I have none to look for except for you. Just as a chataka bird always prays for the cloud, regardless of whether it brings rain or hurls a thunderbolt. We worship that Mahaprabhu who manifested in the Leela of being Jagat Guru in order to instruct us. I think you all know this verse, Aswashyava, can you say? Aswashyava padanandram nidasomam adarsanam mama atam karatova that Mahaprabhu we worship. Krishna may embrace me in love or trample me under his feet. He may break my heart by hiding himself from me. Let that Dubaji do whatever he likes, but he will always be the Lord of my life. I still remember hearing Srila Prabhupada recite these beautiful Shastastikams in the very, very early days in San Francisco in early 1967. Maybe just a few days after his arrival there. And we were astonished to hear this verse. You know, that God was a debauchee. We knew what a debauchee was. We were all debauchees. It was amazing. I don't mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for his happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my life. That is my best happiness. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Antyalila. And there was that beautiful verse from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Tate nakampam susamiksamano bhujana vipatma pita kitam vipakam niripam vipakur vidadan namaste jivitaya mukti pada sarayavak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Srila Prabhupada mentioned this verse many, many times. You can do a little search on the database. So, why would the Lord bestow suffering on a devotee? And why would the devotee accept that patiently? There is a commentary by Sridhar Swami, and he's explaining that the type of so-called punishment that is given to a devotee is not a devotee. It's not to be seen as karmic reaction. That the Lord sees that the devotee is trying. That maybe there are some leftover remnants of material desires. So he's trying to assist this devotee by pointing this out in such a way that if he accepts this so-called punishment, which is actually a deterrent towards his material desires, that this is actually his mercy. This is how a devotee understands these things. So in order to perform bhajana, or worship the Mahaprabhu, if I need, this is Srila Bhakti Siddhartha, if I need to reject all the detrimental things of the world millions of times, and I'm ready to do that wholeheartedly with all my senses, I am prepared for that. Taking shelter at his feet, I accept those misfortunes with the understanding that he is protecting me and dragging me towards his feet. This is very high-level instruction, but we need to hear it, because so many times we get confused when things shift us in a way that's not pleasing to our immediate concerns and senses. He is supremely merciful to expose my duplicity. He's not allowing me to add more fuel to my material desires. He's making me understand this, that there is no eternal object in this world to take shelter of, other than his lotus feet. So he goes on to explain, if we belong to the school of material enjoyment, then when some obstacle hinders our enjoyment, what happens? We become angry, we become upset, we become disturbed, maybe our faith takes a hit, just like Mr. R. Babu. He was so devoted, constantly chanting, and all of a sudden finished, because he was demanding service from the Lord instead of offering service. The school of renunciation says that we should give up material enjoyment. Gauranga's devotees do not prescribe to any sort of enjoyment, nor do they prescribe to any sort of renunciation. They say it should be towards real objects, let the natural propensity of the Jivatma be focused upon true transcendental knowledge of the non-dual Absolute. Even if one desires to artificially renounce, he cannot. How many of you, when you maybe became introduced to Krishna consciousness, all of a sudden like, I'm giving it all up? How long did it last?
2 weeks.
So, we may want to do so, but no, it's not happening that way. Only one who offers his namaskars, his pranams, to Bhagavan's feet, with his mind, his body, his words, is the rightful heir to liberation. Whatever the inconvenience one may have to face, he accepts them wholeheartedly as Bhagavan's Kripa avatar, the descent of his mercy. It's not possible to estimate all the auspiciousness that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has bestowed upon all of us. Look at this little room of people here. You know, and we're all coming from various backgrounds and situations. Some of you have maybe just been here a few minutes, relatively speaking. Some of us maybe a few hours, relatively speaking, in our devotional career, life, service. Somehow, by the descent of Mahaprabhu's mercy, we've gathered together here. So, we're on this path of let's explain the Shreya and prayers. We're on this path of pleasure. And in order to open our eyes, he has meticulously arranged various problems among the objects of our material pleasure. How many people have thought about it like this? When something bumps you, when something throws you off, that actually this is a perfect arrangement by the all-perfect Lord to deter you from falling over the cliff of material sense gratification. He gave us poor health, and step by step he also sent us various dangers and gave us specific temporary nature to everything in this world in order we should eventually tread the path of the highest benefit. Then he relates an incident that had happened. He's telling this person about this incident that happened. This high court advocate's son was on his deathbed. And the high court person, Mr. Datta, he comes to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, "You're a sadhu. Kindly, please restore my son's life." And he told him, "I'm not the master of bestowing life, but I can try to change the way you think." This person was a staunch follower of Kant, who is a French philosopher. At certain points in the history of Bengal, there was a lot of fascination with various philosophies and philosophers from outside of India. So then the man said, "If your God really exists, then you should make him cure my son." And I told him frankly, I will not make a campaign against the desire of Bhagavan. Sri Gaurasundar is most merciful, and this is shown by his decorating the world with hundreds and hundreds of problems. That is his mercy. If you consider the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Chandra by meditating on such deliberations, you will find it most amazing. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita. You know, how many times we go reading this beautiful volume of work that is so deep, I don't even know how we could ever see to the other side of it if we start digging in. It's not the duty of the jiva to live in this world in forgetfulness of Bhagavan. This place is not our eternal residence. And in order to remind us of this, he creates problems in our pursuit of material happiness. So, and then we become a little bit annoyed, we become a little bit ungrateful. O Lord Hari, it is not to be saved from the dualities of material nature, or the grim tribulations of the Kumbhaka hell, that I pray to your lotus feet. Nor is my purpose to enjoy the soft-skinned, beautiful women who reside in the gardens of heaven. I pray to your lotus feet only, that I may remember you within the core of my heart, birth after birth. From Mukunda Mala Sutra. And a similar verse from Lord Chaitanya. You all know this, so please say it. Nadanam, nadanam, nasanam, padikamba, vajavishwakamaye, mahayadamani, janmani, shware, bhavata, bhaktira, harituki, Oh my Lord, I have no desire to accumulate, you can say this too, wealth,
not to a desire. Not to have any number of followers. I only want your cosmos mercy to look at.
My only prayer is for your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. In the Bhagavat Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second verse, Dharma Projita Kadaro Traparo Nimatsaranami Satam Vidyam. You know that one? You can say it nicely. I don't say so nicely.
Dharma Projita Kaitabo Traparamo Nirmatsara Nam Satam Vedyam Vastava Vastu Sivadam Tapatrayo Unmulanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parairishvara Satyo Kritya Varutya Tretra Kritvi Sushrushvi Takshanat.
Thank you very much. I will tell you a story about this verse and my daughter and Srila Prabhupada. Then I'll translate. So my daughter had been taken to the Gurukul in America. We were in Calcutta, India, with Srila Prabhupada. She was 4.5 years old, and her father took her to America, to Dallas, Texas, and put her in the Gurukul, because that's what we did in those days. And after, it was like almost a year later, she came back to India, all by herself on a plane from Dallas to New York, changed the plane to England, changed the plane. Somehow she got to Delhi, amazingly enough, all by herself. She was barely 5.5 by that time. Nobody was with her. So I met her at the airport, and we came back to there was a little temple at that time in Delhi. It was at Bengali Market. I don't know if anybody ever even been there. You've seen it, you know that? So a little temple was there, and I walked in, I came in with my daughter, and everybody was gone. Only Mahendra, the cook, was there, and Srila Prabhupada. And he heard us, and he called us in his room. And he goes, "So, Saraswati, you have learned Sanskrit?" And she said, "Yes, say something." And this is what she chanted. And then Prabhupada was smiling pleasingly, and he said to me, "Bring my bag." So my bag in those days was this white plastic case that had all the important things, his documents and Lakshmi, everything was in this. It wasn't so big, but that bag, never went out of his sight, practically speaking. So I brought it over to him, and he opened it up, and he pulled out 20 rupees. And let me tell you, in the early 1970s, this was about 71 something, you could buy a lot with 20 rupees. I mean, you could seriously buy substantial items. So it wasn't like chump change. And I had already learned that, if Prabhupada is giving you something, you don't say no, because the inclination, oh no, I cannot take from my spiritual master. No, you must. So I'd already been through that. So I took it, and he goes, buy her some new cloth. So then I went to Connaught Place, and all these people would be there from different places, different parts of India, the Rajasthani people in particular, and they had colorful cloth, and I bought some colorful cloth with embroidery and little mirrors in it, and had a skirt, a little gugger made, and a little top. There's a picture of her wearing that outfit, putting a garland on Prabhupada at a Delhi Pandal, which occurred shortly afterwards. Anyway, in this Bhagavad Purana, where fraudulent religiosity and all other mundane goals of humankind have been utterly forsaken, the supreme spiritual duty, Paramdham, has been expounded, and that Paramdham is pure bhakti yoga, exemplified by those saints who are absolutely free of envy and full of compassion for all living beings. I just heard a lecture by Srila Prabhupada, and he just mentioned this one point. How can you tell if somebody is actually elevated? How can you tell if somebody is actually a pure devotee, and he's free from envy and full of compassion for all living beings? The supreme truth within uproots the three forms of misery and grants the highest form of bliss. When those with ample spiritual merit desire to listen to the message of this beautiful Bhagavatam, which was authored by Mahamuni, Sri Narayan himself, then the Supreme Lord, Sri Hari, is immediately and perfectly captured within their hearts. What is the need for any other message? So he continues, our Babu, the one whose daughter died, took shelter of Mahaprabhu as if he would enrich Mahaprabhu, as if Mahaprabhu would be delivered by his mercy. He had complete attachment to matter, but not to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu revealed his duplicity. He did not examine the matter from the very beginning and could not come to the right conclusion anywhere. Not even for a moment did he deliberate upon the true form of Mahaprabhu. He considered the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga as nature's product, or as some type of special medicine. To him, the material object which is medicine that will cure his daughter's disease is Mahaprabhu. The divine feet of Gaur Nitai remove all the anarthas and award Krishna Prem. They can give us Radha and Krishna, and they are non-different from their names. That Gaur Nitai are not like some pir fakir, so that uses magicians or good luck charms. If he had actually received the instructions from the lotus feet of a guru who was a sincere, genuine devotee of Gaura, then the holy name himself would have shown mercy to him, and his heart would have been elevated. If we remain apathetic to the teachings of Sri Chaitanya, then we will enthrone a Satan as a devotee of Chaitanya, or even as Chaitanya himself. It's a very intense statement. When we do endeavor for material benefits, then our false Gaur Bhajan, like Mr. R in his Gora, 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 but when he didn't get what he wanted, which wasn't Gora, he wanted something else, then he was enlightened, enthroning Satan in his heart. We worship that Mahaprabhu who is propagated by Sri Rupa in the following mood. And you all know this one? Hands together. Namo Mahaprabhaya Krishna Prema Prayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaurati Maha. O most magnificent incarnation, you are Krishna himself appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani, and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. We worship that Mahaprabhu who was prayed for by Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami. O ocean of mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, let there be an awakening of your auspicious mercy, which easily drives away all kinds of material lamentation. By your mercy, everything is made auspicious. It awakens transcendental bliss and covers all the gross material pleasures. By your auspicious mercy, quarrels and disagreement arising among different scriptures are vanquished. Your mercy always stimulates devotional service, which is full of joy. We read in the Bhagavad Gita, isn't it, that devotional service is joyfully performed. So we can understand, if we're not feeling joy, we're actually not performing devotional service. We have some work to do. You are always glorifying the conjugal love of God. May transcendental bliss be awakened within my heart by your causeless mercy. And then he went on to say, we worship that Mahaprabhu that was prayed to by Srila Prabhupada Saraswati. For those who have attained the merciful sidelong glances of Lord Chaitanya, impersonal liberation becomes as palatable as going to hell. As going to the heavenly cities of the demigods become as enticing as flowers imagined to be floating in the sky. The poisonous fangs of untamable black snakes of the senses are broken. The whole world becomes full of joy, and Brahman and Indra, and all the other great demigods become as insignificant as tiny insects. Let us glorify that golden complexioned Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So even after the teachings of Sri Chaitanya are preached, those that still do not delineate on those teachings are most unfortunate. I mean, those who not accept, those who reject, they're most unfortunate. Sri Gaura Sundar is not the object of our enjoyment. In spite of remaining among millions and millions of dangers and disasters, one must hear the words pertaining to Sri Gaura Sundar, perform kirtan about him, and preach about him. All thoughts existing in this world, which existed in the past and will exist in the future, are blind and bankrupt. We realize it only when we take shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Gaura Sundar without any deceit. And then he explained that this Mr. R, he couldn't understand that Gaura Sundar is fundamentally spiritual in nature. And Mr. R had only exhibited false bhakti through lip service, and thus he took the shelter of Satan. It's interesting he's using this Christian word, Satan. May that Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost chambers of our hearts, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no other incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant spiritual knowledge and the mellow taste of his service. So then this Mr. Rai Badur, the first person who had come to talk, he goes, can you please give me one or two practical suggestions? There are many theoretical statements. How can one be protected from namaparat? Is it sometimes we wonder ourselves about practicality? I mean, we're hearing these very high-level philosophical words and instructions. Okay, we're not rejecting them, but how do we apply them? So he's asking practical suggestion. His answer was, kindly study Harinam Chintamani. This is a specific question, how to be protected from namaparat. And this man says, but Mahaprabhu said one should give the holy name even to a chandala. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati answered, only one who is a namacharya can give the name. Only a person who is free from namaparad and namabas by the mercy of Mahaprabhu can give the holy name to others. But then what is the significance of the words Hilaya Shadaya Va? The holy name may be chanted with faith, art, and attention. No hard and fast rules to chanting the holy name. That hasn't changed, it's a fact. But it does not say that namaparad should be chanted. It can be chanted. Better you chant than not chant, but it's not saying that's how you should chant. He asked the man, do you think namaparad will bestow mercy on us? And then he goes, well, Mahaprabhu does not say that there is something called namaparad. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, you should study the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Sandarbhas. The topic of namaparad is mentioned throughout. Niraparade namaloya lapaya premadan. By chanting the holy name without any offense, one attains to the treasure of prema. One cannot receive the holy name from a pseudo-guru who is a namaparadi. He must accept the shelter of a pure namacharya, and such a guru will bestow auspiciousness on his disciple. So then he was asking, well, if we just follow all these strict rules, will that be enough to properly chant the holy name? What do you think? You just follow the rules? Yeah. The answer given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was, imitation chanting will not produce the holy name. The true name will manifest himself. He himself will grant his mercy. Those that do not consider such things will commit aparad. Chanting the holy name even once can produce auspiciousness. One time, one godbrother asked Srila Prabhupada, how many years will it take, no, how long will it take before we're able to chant purely? And he answered, in a second. It can be in a second. Another godbrother asked the same question at another time. How long will it take? He said, oh, about 40 years. Both are true. How can I purely chant that name at least just once? He replied, Ado Guru Padashraya. First take shelter of the lotus feet of a genuine guru. Take shelter of the feet of a genuine guru. That means someone who's not confused, who's not preaching opera against the holy name, who's not diluting the holy name. So then this person, Raivada, he says, the guru in human shape is very much limited. Even if I am able to accept someone as guru, What about those who are residing in Africa, America, or even New Zealand? Our Adivasas, the Aborigines, what about them? How will they be able to get such a namacharya? And Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta said, they will also get a guru according to their adhikar, just as they have received Christ. When their good fortune arises and they sincerely search for a genuine guru, sadguru, then after some births, they will eventually receive one. So this was way before any of us were ever on the marketplace looking. Yeah. So we can understand that somehow or other, the mercy of Mahaprabhu has seeped down to us at some point in time in our lives. No such thing as chance. When their good fortune arises and they sincerely search for a genuine guru, then after some births, they will eventually receive one. We can understand what happened to us by that statement. So for the time being, stop and lend your submissive and regardful ear. I say to everyone in this world, leaving aside all your talks, kindly listen a little to the words descending from above. I always favor the transcendental sound. I'm not in favor of aparad. I'm not prepared to commit aparad, neither am I prepared to make others commit aparad. The other day, I was at Compass and I was reading Back to Godhead magazine, and they have some letters where people write questions and get some answers. So somebody wrote and was asking if it was really necessary to follow rules and regulations and so many things in order to chant and make advancement. It would seem kind of a clear-cut thing. If you want to make advancement, yes, you must do this. You know, that's the reality. So, we don't want to allow others to falter in their, or at least we hope we don't want to allow others to falter in their spiritual path. And so many people will be coming, like so many airplanes coming into an airport, and some from very, very far away, some from shorter distances, you know, coming into land. But they have a common direction, they have, you know, and they have this common goal, and it's clear. You know, it's not hidden, it's not obscure. So I appreciate when he says, neither I am prepared to make others commit aparad. In other words, okay, do what you want, it's all the same, yada yada. It's not all the same. You know, all roads eventually can lead you to Krishna, but you need to take the direct path. Prabhupada gave us this wonderful example. At the time, the Empire State Building at that time was the tallest building in the world. So you can walk up the stairs. It will take a very long time. You might even have a heart attack on the way up. Or you can take the elevator, fast route. So he explained that Krishna consciousness is like the elevator. We don't live so long nowadays. Maybe we're thinking sometimes, wow, somebody's living to be 100 or 90 or whatever. That's a long time. But no, it's not a long time when you consider half your life is, first you're like in the womb, and then you're a little baby, and you can't do anything, then you have to walk. I mean, you're dependent for a very good portion of your life. And then you have to grow up and become responsible, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you're falling apart. You know? It happens really fast, faster than you can imagine. You know that picture, the changing bodies exhibit? You know, put yourself in one of those bodies. You know, it's happening quickly. Why would we want to slow down somebody's spiritual progress by misleading them? I'm not prepared to make others commit apara. If I continue to carry in my head all the rubbish things that I've collected from here, then I cannot progress even an inch on the path towards Braj. Those who are famous as the giant intellects of this world should refrain from speaking anything for some time and submit to the oral reception of transcendental sound. Bhakti is not a suggestive thing, it's not guesswork. It is positive and clear understanding of reality. Bhakti is understood as submission to the personality of Godhead. It says in the Bhagavatam, for one who remembers the lotus feet of Krishna, 12th canto, all inauspiciousness will soon disappear, and one's good fortune expands. In other words, one becomes free from all material contamination. One attains liberation from repeated birth and death, and one's spiritual life, one's real spiritual life begins. And as one heart gradually becomes purified, one's devotion to the Lord within the heart awakens, and one realizes the Paramatma, and then gradually one develops knowledge, realization, and renunciation. And then he gives some interesting insight. He was saying at the beginning there was no need for us to form our mission. They were there on the roof at their little building at Altadanga Junction Road, where our Srila Prabhupada met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. It was a small situation. So at the beginning there was no need, but then eventually, because people have gone in the wrong way, we're using the mission. In other words, in order to extend the merciful teachings of Mahaprabhu to a greater audience, we're using this mission. He's referring to Gaudiya Math, we can insert ISKCON, to render service to Bhagavan, to deliver human society from the wrong direction. You know, like in the freeways, so those entrances, and it goes, wrong direction, stop, wrong direction. I'm sure you've all seen those. I hope you've never been on one. I know. I had this devotee with me from South Africa, and we were coming up from Miami. She was at the wheel. All of a sudden I looked. We were in the wrong direction. That is not our goal of life. It is to be immediately rehabilitated. We need this mission to render service to Bhagavan, to deliver human society from the wrong direction. In this manner, even if we attain supremacy over the world, course of time, still we should discard it. And he says discard it like stool and urine. May the human race be delivered from the wrong direction and be established at the lotus feet of Sri Gaurasundar, who is the root of all auspiciousness. Our little endeavor is only for this purpose. If anyone deviates even minutely from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, be he Brahma, Shiva, Vayu, Varuna, a great religious preacher or religious leader, he will encounter great difficulties. Little hint to us. There is no way to gain auspiciousness other than serving one who performs real service to Vishnu. At this present time, we're engaged in a tie of love between finite things. We feel a necessity for things that actually have no real necessity for us. And he gives some description of chanting. Those who pull on beads in the same way that one pulls on the reins of an animal, who make a noise yet do not see Krishna and Gaurasundar directly in every utterance they make, are not fit to be associated by us. The acme of all scholarship is Krishna Sammana, establishing a relationship with Sri Krishna. And then he said, if my real intention is to serve Bhagavan, then I'll see the whole world, I'll see the entire world as ingredients for his service.
So could you repeat that sentence of the animal's reign that you were reading?
The what?
The animal reigns.
The sentence
Could
that
you
you read
repeat
about.
that?
Okay. Those that pull on their beads, in other words, those that pull on their beads in the same way that one pulls on the reins of an animal, who make a noise, yet do not see Krishna and Gaurasundar directly in every utterance they make, are not fit to be associated by us. The acme of all scholarship is Krishna Sambandha, establishing a relationship with Sri Krishna. So for those of you who are students, keep this in mind. If my real intention is to serve Bhagavan, then I'll see the entire world as ingredients for his service. So I'll conclude because I see the time. So then the question was asked also to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He proposed the question, when does pure chanting begin? We will not be able to chant purely as long as we are absorbed in material thoughts. We know the 10 offenses to chanting the holy name. It's an offense to maintain material attachment even after understanding so many instructions of this manner, and it is also an offense to remain inattentive while chanting. How can we chant Krishna's names if we're not inclined to serve him? A person interested in sense gratification, who is fond of cheating, who is a hypocrite, can never chant the holy names. Those who do not understand the Lord's holy name and the Lord himself are not different will face obstacles in chanting. Chanting begins when we are inclined to serve the Lord. Unless we are convinced that that holy name is directly the Lord himself, how will we chant? The Lord's sacred name does not manifest on the tongue if the heart is filled with the current of mundane thoughts. Therefore, it is not possible to chant the holy name until the mind is spiritualized. Only a person whose material conception has been destroyed is able to chant Lord's Hari's name incessantly, constantly. We are suffering because we serve our material desires. If our material desires are strong, we will become Maya's servants and may even take birth as ghosts and spirits, evil spirits. When by serving Guru and Krishna the heart becomes purified, the Lord's pure name will appear in the heart. Otherwise, we will continue to commit offenses against the holy name. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You know, very strong statements, but they should not be taken as negativity. We should never take as negativity when one is compassionate enough to speak truthfully to us. Many times people will ask, what was it about Srila Prabhupada that caused you to go with him, to hear him, to believe him? It was his truthfulness. He was never duplicitous. He never deceived us. And he even spoke the truth, even when it might be considered unpalatable. You all know about the hippies and their mood of love and peace. It was all about love and peace. And yet the first words I heard from him, really heard from him in San Francisco in 1967, January 1917, when he first arrived, in our little temple there. There is no love in the material world. That could have been a crashing blow. I felt immense relief. Because we were trying, and it wasn't happening. That love wasn't happening. But he didn't just drop it there. It's not there in the material world. And he began to explain to us with beautiful detail the nature of pure love and where it was from, the origin of pure love, Sri Krishna. So, although a devotee has surrendered to Lord Krishna, surrendered to his devotional service, until he's completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, one may still retain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness in this world. So therefore the Lord creates a particular situation to eradicate this enjoying spirit that's a little bit left over, like the whirling of the fan when you pull out this plug. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It's rather the Lord's special mercy on us, inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return back home to Godhead. I just wanted to read a very beautiful, just a couple more minutes, sorry, but in an article in the Harmonist, which was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's magazine in 1932, he said the Gaudiya literature will be translated in all the languages of all the world by agents of divine mercy at the appointed time. Again, 1932. There will also be no doubt spring up a mighty host of pseudo-exponents and an immense body of spurious, it means not authentic, Gaudiya literature, as has been the case in the past. This is to be expected by all really thoughtful persons, but nothing can have the least power of depriving a person of the mercy of the real agents of divine mercy, except one's deliberate refusal to avail oneself of the same when it will be offered at your door, at your very door, in a perfectly recognized form. As soon as a single person will have conceived the sincere desire of undertaking the promulgation of the Gaudiya literature to the people of this world, he is thereby enrolled among the agents of divine mercy with power to forward the fulfillment of this expressed wish of the Supreme Lord. The Gaudiya literature will not long remain confined to the Bengali-speaking people. It will, in a short time, expand and display its full brilliancy through the medium of all languages, including those of birds, beasts, and the vegetable tribes. Now, this is an amazing statement, because he's telling us about Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, who has actually fulfilled this actual, you can say, premonition. Just like Lord Chaitanya said, my name will be chanted in every town and village. Who fulfilled that? One time somebody asked, well, Srila Prabhupada, if Lord Chaitanya's God, he could have done this himself, right? Why didn't he do it himself? Prabhupada very humbly answered, he left something for me to do. And similarly, Srila Prabhupada has left something for us to do. My dear boys and girls, please help push on this mission. And now he's talking about how these ancient scripts and texts will be known all over the world in the various languages. Who caused that to happen? Srila Prabhupada and his incredible visionary BBT. To this day, the BBT is the largest producer of spiritual philosophical books from India, for the whole world. There's over 100 different languages, 125 different languages. where the books have been translated, and they're still ongoing and being translated. I don't know how many billion people there are on the earth, something like 5 billion or, I don't know.
7 plus.
Huh?
7 plus.
7 plus billion, okay. How many people live in Sacramento?
500,000.
500,000.
Altogether 2 million.
And here we are, this little
1.1
handful.
million altogether.
Anyway, we've got a little work to do.
We got a lot of work.
Prabhupada always would say, help me, boys and girls, push on this mission. So we know what it is we need to do. And each one of us has a unique ability to somehow or other help push on this mission. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati ki
Jai.
Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Yeah, we know there's time.
Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
No, I can speak here. No, I had a question on the, on the personal, like back when you were with Srila Prabhupada. So remember last time when you came here, you gave a narration about you used to help Srila Prabhupada in the bus. Like sometimes you had to cook in the bus also.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I want to understand, like, so is it the bus was, is it like a state-owned or is it privately owned? Yeah,
It's probably
I
not
stayed
owned.
in the state-owned buses, so I know.
All I can tell you, it was a really crappy bus.
So it would be state
I told you it was air conditioned because no windows, no padding on the seat.
Oh, really?
Was pretty basic bus.
Oh. Yeah, I was reading
At
and I
least he
wanted
asked
to
a question
understand.
I could answer. I was afraid I was going to get one of these heavy-duty philosophical questions.
It was easy. But I had always this question I wanted to ask you, like, so I understand the situation.
All right, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Such a beautiful description is the conversation between Bhakti Thakur and the judge. There's a nectar, just nectar on this auspicious way of
He said it was a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, this
You
is...
need new hearing aids.
just nectar, Prabhu, thank you very much for enlightening all of us on this auspicious way.
I mean, from my humble point of view, I try to just stick to the words of the acharyas
It's so good.
because I'm a very unfortunately fallen person. So I know if I just give their words, there may be something useful that will be caught up in your hearts.
Maybe someday we can have some qualification to advise some just from you.
I'd advise you to avoid that.